Cody's going to make a comeback right now.
No way, man. He's not even landed one punch.
I'm telling you.
Brodie's in the ascendancy. Oh my god! What a clothesline, man.
Oh my god.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a new TNT champion, Mr. Brodie Lee.
I have been telling you guys for the last 3 weeks, join the Dark Order. Check these guys out. They're a force to be reckoned with, and they're one of the hottest factions right now in wrestling. And they proved, they stamped their authority not only on the Nightmare family, but on AEW itself.
And taking the title wasn't enough for Mr. Brodie Lee, because after the match they took out Arn Anderson. They took out Cody Rhodes, who was on a stretcher, and hit him in the head with this bag, which turned out to be the remnants of his old TNT championship that he spilt all over his carcass. And not only that, he beat up his brother Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall, thereby destroying the whole Nightmare family.
Even Brandy Rhodes was not spared, because Anna Jay, the only female recruit of the Dark Order, choked her out as she tried to come between Brodie Lee and Cody Rhodes. And I mean, that visual of the Dark Order standing on top of the Nightmare family with Brodie holding the TNT title was epic. And that was one of the best ends and one of the best AEW Dynamites in their history. Wow.
And this week we saw Brodie Lee celebrating his TNT championship victory by bringing a casket and he put the Nightmare Collective's flag on it, signifying that he is figuratively and literally burying Cody Rhodes and the rest of his faction.
And we obviously expected an interruption from the Nightmare family, and that's exactly why we saw Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall try to take out the Dark Order. And while they were struggling, we saw Matt Cardona and Scorpio Sky come to their aid and temporarily taking out Dark Order, which led to this stare down and left a bad taste in Brodie Lee's mouth. And that it was clear, that was the time when it was announced that Dark Order will be taking on the Nightmare Collective on All Out, and that's basically Matt Cardona and the whole rest of the Nightmare family trying to get redemption and revenge for what Dark Order did to Cody Rhodes.
And Dark Order wasn't done then, because we saw Anna Jay on a recruiting mission, because she went over to her tag team partner Tay Conti and offered her a spot to join the Dark Order, and Tay Conti obviously accepted and hugged Anna Jay, and now they have two up and coming female wrestlers. Dark Order's getting stronger, ladies and gentlemen.
We've been saying it for a while, guys.
Join the Dark Order. It's now time for a segment that everyone loves. It's 49 seconds for the 18 to 49 demo, where we talk about Le Champion, the demo god, Chris Jericho. So Chris Jericho came out to address the stalemate between him and Orange Cassidy. Chris Jericho said that he won at Fight for the Fallen, and Orange Cassidy won their match last week, so they're at 1-1 and they have to have a decider. And since Chris Jericho is such an innovator of matches and he created Money in the Bank, he has created another match called the Mimosa Mayhem match. And this match has 80 gallons of pure orange juice mixed with 500 cases of a little bit of the bubbly, and the winner can only be found via pinfall, submission, or if somebody gets dumped into a vat of mimosa. Absolutely brilliant. Chris Jericho, after announcing this match, subsequently beat up Orange Cassidy and shoved champagne on an upside down Orange Cassidy, and then Orange Cassidy the very next week came and flung himself on Chris Jericho, who was doing commentary, and this led to an absolute brawl. And I'm actually looking forward to Chris Jericho facing Orange Cassidy at All Out and finally putting this rivalry to bed. And that was 49 seconds for the 18 to 49 demographic. You're welcome.
And we move on to the tag team division, which is really heated up right now. Last week, AEW Dynamite was kicked off with FTR versus Private Party, and the most interesting thing we saw was that Tully Blanchard is on the side of FTR, wearing the FTR jacket. He's clearly formed an alliance with them from last week, from the tag team appreciation night, and his advice clearly worked, because they got rid of Private Party quite easily and got one step closer to becoming number one contenders for those coveted AEW tag team titles.
And then we saw Adam Hangman Page go to FTR's locker room and confront them about the fact that FTR took out Rock and Roll Express. but FTR said that they were hosting Tag Team Appreciation Night and they felt disrespected by the fact that Rock and Roll Express kept calling the Young Bucks the best tag team in the world and that they were going to be champs one day, and FTR just couldn't stand that, and they said that Adam Hangman Page should be concerned because there's a number one contenders tag team gauntlet match set up, and in that match Adam Hangman Page does not want the Young Bucks to win, because if they win, all that he's worked hard for these past 8 months of getting out of the shadow will be undone. It's in his best interest that FTR win that match. And now we see that Adam Hangman Page is being manipulated by FTR.
Yeah, exactly. And like my brother mentioned, there was a gauntlet match set up the next week to determine the number one contenders for the tag team titles. And a gauntlet match is basically several teams in one match, but only two start, and one team loses, the next team comes out. And in this match, the Young Bucks started this match against Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. They got rid of them quite easily, had a good warm-up in the first 10 minutes, and then went up against Best Friends. Now this was an interesting matchup. Young Bucks worked on Chuck Taylor's knee quite a bit. They worked on Trent also, and they were in the driving seat. And Matt Jackson had Trent set up for the Meltzer driver. When Nick Jackson was just about to deliver it, Adam Hangman Page grabbed his legs and stopped him from doing that, distracting both the Bucks. And Trent took advantage, rolled up Matt Jackson, and beat them. He has basically pinned Young Bucks, and they're out of the match. And I know what all of you are asking. Why? We are all asking the same question, but we had to go ahead with the match because FTR were coming down fresh as daisies, going to beat Best Friends, and they did exactly that because they targeted Chuck Taylor's damaged knee, and Dax Howard ultimately got him in a submission move which forced him to tap. And this is just, wow! FTR have become the number one contenders, going up against Kenny and Hangman at All Out, and we can already see how Tully has prepped them for this. They're already there. They're there to the next stage. Can't wait to see what happens.
And now we saw the Young Bucks looking for Adam Hangman Page, and they found him at a bar, and they went to him and said, like, what the hell was that? Why did you cost us? We thought we were friends, but clearly we've been holding on to something that doesn't exist. And it took a glass of whiskey and smacked it in his face and said that he's out of the elite. And now, ladies and gentlemen, pay close attention because this is very important. This is an 8-month of storytelling, and it's about to culminate at All Out because now we believe that Adam Hangman Page and Kenny Omega are about to lose their tag team titles to FTR, and we're going to see Kenny Omega absolutely lose his shit and beat the living daylights out of Adam Hangman Page.
He's already, when he wins matches, he's beaten up Marco Stunt, he beat up Dark Order after winning matches. So imagine what he'll do to Hangman after losing. And especially because he's had a thing against FTR from the start, and the friendship between him and Hangman, FTR and Hangman, kind of pisses Kenny off. Obviously it does. So he's actually going to lash out at them, at Hangman. And even the Young Bucks will lash out at Hangman because they cost the Young Bucks, obviously, the tag team title shots at All Out. So all three of them are going to go after Hangman Page, and this is going to be a classic heel turn for all the original members of the Elite. And can't wait to see what happens after that.
And that's when Kenny Omega is going to become the cleaner and his heel persona is going to come back, or we're going to see Adam Hangman Page turn heel and join the four horsemen of Tully Blanchard, FTR, Sean Spears, and Adam Hangman Page could be the leader. So anything can happen in this situation. Do tune into All Out on September 5th to check it out.
And we're continuing with the tag team division where we saw the Lucha Bros and Butcher and the Blade team up in an 8-man tag match against Jurassic Express and QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes. And the match was going really well, but the Lucha Bros and Butcher and the Blade sort of lost the rhythm and ultimately lost the match. And as they were turning on each other, Eddie Kingston comes out and announces that, we all are part of the Indies, so we should stick together and we should fight for what we came for, which is fighting for gold. So he kind of made them stick together, and they're like this indie faction kind of thing now. And this week on Dynamite, we saw Butcher and the Blade and Lucha Bros take on Griff Garrison, Brian Pillman Jr., Sonny Kiss, and Joey Janela, and they beat them quite well. They were in sync. Butcher and the Blade and Lucha Bros were in good sync, and they won that match quite simply. And Eddie Kingston after that announced that all 5 of them are a part of a 21-man casino battle royal to determine the number one contender for the AEW title, which will be taking place on All Out, and that's exactly why they came to AEW, to fight for that gold.
And speaking of the 21-man casino battle royal, we saw Lance Archer beating up a jobber and saying that he is going to walk out as the number one contender at All Out because he's going to win that 21-man Casino Battle Royal. But that's when we saw Taz interrupting and saying, I beg to differ because my man, the FTW champion Brian Cage, is going to win that Casino Battle Royal and walk out and challenge whoever is the world champion. And then this was leading to a very interesting confrontation between these two big men, Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and I really wanted them to go. But it was interrupted by Darby Allin, who was also having a lot of personal issues with one of Taz's teammates called Absolute Ricky Starks. Because Ricky Starks in the previous week had dressed up as Darby Allin, had done a lot of face paint, and said that I don't need paint to be relevant, and completely destroyed Darby Allin. And Darby Allin took umbrage and attacked Ricky Starks and took him to the back. And both of them have also been announced as part of the 21 Casino Battle Royal. It's going to be really interesting, and All Out is beginning to be a pay-per-view that you just cannot miss. Go.
And we move on to another heated rivalry between Sammy Gawara and Broken Matt Hardy. And as you recall, a couple of weeks back, Sammy Gawara threw a vicious chair shot at Matt Hardy, causing him 13 stitches and causing him to be busted open. But wait! Pause the multiverse! Basically, in a context of a wrestling match, busted open means when a wrestler starts bleeding profusely, particularly from his face, and in a sentence it can be used as Sammy Gawara threw a steel chair on Matt Hardy, causing him to be busted open. And these are just terms of the wrestling world from the inside, courtesy Matt Hardy. Unfreeze.
I mean, what happened?
Never mind. So Matt Hardy attacked Sammy Gawara and taking revenge for what had happened the previous weeks, and he threw him off the staging area onto a table. And if it wasn't for the staff members holding him back, he would have probably sent Sammy Gawara to the hospital. But Tony Khan, seeing this, called a match, a tables match, this week on Dynamite between Matt Hardy and Sammy Gawara.
And I think that this match should have happened at All Out. I don't know why they rushed it and put it on Dynamite. Maybe it's because of the ratings, but this match happened.
And I agree with him. I mean, it should have happened on All Out. It was a short match for, a tables match. And each opponent went through a table without, the opponent themselves. So they went through a table, but the match wasn't over. But eventually, Sammy Gawara superplexed him from the top rope onto a table, winning the match. But it's not the end of this rivalry, because I'm pretty sure we're going to see a matchup at All Out. And it probably might just be a first blood match, we think. But we'll have to wait and find out.
And we move on to the women's division, and something exciting is happening because we saw Thunder Rosa, the NWA Women's Champion, challenging Shida, the AEW Women's Champion, at All Out. And this is the first time that two companies are working together like this in tandem. And Thunder Rosa is a Mexican wrestler who started her career in 2014. She applied her trade at Lucha Underground. And she's also a mixed martial artist. She's had one professional fight which she lost, but she is super tough. And she is the reigning NWA Women's Champion and is gunning hard for Shida's AEW Women's Championship. I mean, I love this cross-promotional match. NWA versus AEW. Let's do it.
And sticking with the women's division, good to have Britt Baker back in action. I mean, she wasn't really in action, but she chose Reba and a tag team partner for her, which was Penelope Ford, who took on Big Swole in a handicap match. And basically, Britt Baker said if Big Swole wins, she gets to decide the stipulation of the match that she faces with Britt Baker at All Out. And that's exactly what happened. The match was fairly simple for Big Swole, even though it was a handicap match. Reba, not really a wrestler, so it was technically a one-on-one. And Big Swole pinned Penelope Ford and got the victory, and now she's going to decide what kind of matchup it's going to be with Britt Baker at All Out.
And we also saw Ivelisse and Diamante winning the tag team tournament by defeating the Nightmare Sisters, and it easily setting them up for future success. We just have to wait and see. Well, hello. We're back on the MJF campaign trail as he seeks to become the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. He was injured because Jon Moxley had attacked him and given him a paradigm shift, and he was sporting a neck brace and stated that the paradigm shift has to be banned. And that's when his lawyer took over and cut a hell of a promo stating that the paradigm shift is a dangerous maneuver and it should be outlawed by AEW, and they sent a contract up for Jon Moxley to sign. And that led to a contract signing between the two men, where MJF stated that the paradigm shift should be banned, that he can't hold his children because he's injured so badly. He's acting beautifully. And there were good jabs thrown in. MJF said that we should keep things civil. This should not lead to a physical confrontation, and we should practice social distancing, just like your hairline is. And Jon Moxley kind of laughed and said, "Yeah, you'll get there once you hit puberty." So there was a bit of a back and forth exchange, and Jon Moxley stated that, "Fine, I'll sign your contract, but you're just making me think of creative ways to inflict more damage on you because I'm going to end your career," and subsequently signed the contract. And MJF was laughing at him because, you know, Stone Cold Steve Moxley just can't win at All Out because MJF just outsmarted him. But Jon Moxley said, "You didn't see what I wrote on page 17 because I'm going to take on your lawyer next week, and I'm going to give you a little preview of what I'm going to do to you when I completely destroy your lawyer." So this was not a bad segment. It set up the matchup quite perfectly between the two men, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the matchup plays out between these two men. Well, that was the end of our video today. We hope you enjoyed it, and catch us next time where we take you through our predictions for All Out and where we have a very special bet. So tune in next week and we'll see you.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the subscribe button.
And to know everything about All Elite Wrestling, you know who to call. We're the last man standing, and we'll see you.